Welcome back to another episode of Super J Recap. I'm Kyle. I'm joined with a special guest.
The Slasher Scott Story.
Yep, so Scott Story is here for a couple episodes. We are going over, you get the semifinals.
I do.
Of the tournament. Yeah. Had you watched any of this tournament before? This tournament or the 94 J Cup?
I don't think so. If I did, it would have been like one or two matches at the most, but I don't think, definitely not in recent memory that I have.
Okay. We at least picked, you at least got 4 very good wrestlers in your matches. So this matchup, we are going over Jushin Thunder Liger and Ultimo Dragon. I love that this is literally Dragon's third match of the night. And it is his third costume change of the night.
Well, of course.
Yeah. Because he helped produce the show, so you knew that, and you can even tell at the beginning of this match, like, you can just hear the shudders of the cameras, because he knew it's like, we are going to get so many photographers and so much media from this tournament that I'm going to give them 3 different looks. Liger, of course, didn't care at all and is just going to be Liger the whole time.
Right.
But
and you can't keep up with Ultimo Dragon's costume changes because, like, he's like doing it like a pop star's concert.
Yeah.
Like every got a new outfit, every match he's got a new costume, and he's gonna be like, "Hey, you guys didn't get photos of this mask yet, so." Let her rip.
Yeah, and Dragon is one of the rare people that, like, I've been able to photograph him twice. You've been on 2 shows with him, you know.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's definitely wild.
But yeah, it was like they are both so over in this match. Like, you can just hear the crowd, and it might be, you know, partially because we haven't heard, you know, crowds making noise for a while. But
there was some real interesting things that were just I picked up on immediately. Like, you know, they start the match, they start their grappling, and it's more of like I want to pick my words carefully so it's not like sounding like I'm saying something less complimentary than I actually mean. I mean everything in a good way here, but as wrestling's evolved from this point, and maybe because we have mostly been adapted to the WWE style and then like the indie style of, you know, the last decade, but it's not presented as a like show. Like, it's presented as a competition, and what I mean by that is like nothing is super fluid in terms of like it does not look like they're working together to do anything, but we know they are. So like, you know, they go for like transitions in like, you know, like arm drags, and and it's because he's literally like, you know, the move's coming, but the move's real. Like, he's doing the arm drag for real, like whipping him right over. And like, there's some moments where there was one point in the middle of the match where they had like a little bit of a standoff, and you could see they were like faking and like, you know, getting ready, like little false start runnings, you know, or false starts when they're going to run at each other, and then they like go, they do it in a way that's like, it looked uncomfortable to do it that way, but they kind of like collided, and then Liger ran across, and then Ultimo was right on him, and just like them with a thing, and it like now that we know how the sausage is made, kind of, I don't know how inside baseball we want to get with this.
Not super, but enough, you know.
But it's just like it's refreshing to see it presented as like they were really fighting.
Yeah. One of the people that's been really good about that in recent note has actually been Ricky Starks on AEW. He's been really good at like keeping it looking like it's an actual fight and an actual like wrestling match.
Right. Like, in the lead up to the end of the match, Ultimo goes for that moonsault, and Liger barely gets out of the way. Like, it looked like he's like, oh, that's coming right for me. Like, right at the last second, he got out of the way. They might have even clashed heads.
I think they clashed a little bit.
Yeah, but like it wasn't the like when somebody's gonna miss a high risk maneuver, you just are like, oh yeah, as soon as his feet leave the turnbuckle, I'm right out of the way. You slide in. It's a big movement too because I don't want him to land on me.
Yeah.
I don't want him to supposed to land on me. But Liger, like, no, it looked like right in the nick of time, get out of the way, still caught a little bit of it, but not enough to take him out. And like that's the kind of stuff I mean by it was like rough, like more rough, I think is maybe the word.
Yeah, and speaking of rough, one of the early spots in the match was actually kind of one of the first things that the crowd really got alive for was Liger just drop kicking Ultimo in the knee, and then Ultimo just selling it like death, and then Liger just kept going at it, and it was like one of the first figure 4 spots that I remember watching that I actually bit as like the finish almost of like, no, given how screwed up that leg just looked, I wouldn't I wouldn't be surprised if this figure 4 actually works.
Yeah, because when you present it in the way that they're presenting it, especially now in 2020 where we've had about 2 decades of UFC being one of the biggest things in the world, or in the country at least, but the world. You can be the best fighter of all time, but you're still going to get dropped with one good shot. Like Conor McGregor beat Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, and Aldo was undefeated for 9 years.
Yes.
Like all it takes is the perfect maneuver at the perfect time with the perfect time, just like precision. And in this match, when he just annihilates the leg, straps in a submission on the leg, it's like, well, that would make sense. Like you don't have to have your legs beaten down for 20 minutes to be beaten by a submission hold that we all know hurts really bad.
Yep.
I definitely feel like in today's world that concept is kind of gone. Like you don't see, nobody wants to go out there and lose in 30 seconds, you know what I mean? But like you can do it and not look, it doesn't make you look weak. Like it's like the idea is anybody can get caught, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they did a lot of interesting stuff with that concept. And then it kind of right before they started work on the leg, Liger actually did a surfboard without capturing the legs, and I was like, this is the weirdest looking surfboard. But in the story that they were telling, it was like he wasn't able to hook the legs. So that's why, and that was why that ended up making it easier for Ultimo to get out of it as well.
Yeah. Like there was some other interesting points. There was one, it would almost look, it may or may not have been a little bit of a botch, like a mistimed thing. Well, they kind of just, it's like they ran into each other. Like Ultimo went, I think he was going for some sort of takedown attempt, like maybe a headlock takedown, maybe an arm drag, but they kind of collided.
Oh yeah.
And then on the way down, Liger he just grabbed him, and it didn't look like a botch. It looked like this dude went for a move, the other dude stopped it, dropped his body weight, sandbagged him, took him down, and then he grabbed I think it was like a headlock or something, but he got on top of him, and then he took control. But it looked like this would happen if they were fighting for real. Like you're not gonna go for like that like headlock takedown and get the perfect the perfect jump every time, or the perfect the looks. Where everything now looks very much like I think it's more presented like a show now, and back then it was presented as a competition.
Yep. Yeah. I've been talking pretty often, like one of the main topics of discussion throughout this whole thing is the fact that like the 94 and the 95 J Cups have been so influential that they are kind of the start of transitioning the style, to what we know now, because there's some stuff in here that, wouldn't be out of the ordinary on an indie show or even WWE right now.
Right. Yeah, for real. Like, and I don't mean to say these things in a way saying one style is better than the other, because I think there's a lot of value in both. Like, I enjoy both styles. It's just like I haven't seen this style nearly as often or as recent,
Yep.
so it's like, well, okay, like it's refreshing.
One of the spots I really liked was actually because I knew who won, because I knew, you know, what the finals were. That
Mhm.
Ultimo Dragon going for the victory roll, and then Liger rolling through into like another victory roll, and like getting the 2 count. Like, I completely bid on that false finish. It was like, wait, is this it? And it's like, 1, 2, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, some of those false finishes too were like damn, that was right at the
Yes.
mark. Like, that was right there. Like, that is hard to time. Like, it's everybody wants that, but sometimes it's like, I'm gonna make sure I don't lose.
Yeah.
Like right now, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, you want to get that. Oh man, that was a 3. He hit 3, but he got out right at like 2 9/10.
Yeah.
Like, right at the slap. But yeah, they did it. They did it a bunch of times. Like, there was
It was such a it was a really good match. Like, for historical context, Dave Meltzer rated this 4.5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and it's an 8.69 on Cage Match right now.
Okay.
So, like, it's a really highly regarded match.
Yeah. I mean, it should be.
And actually, in my research, because I was just assuming, like, you know, 2 like Japanese wrestling legends, they had to have fought each other all the time, but they were both in different companies for the most part, so they actually had not had a singles match at this point in 2 years.
Okay, so it's fresh for everybody back.
Yeah,
then.
so they did the 93 Tokyo Dome show with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship on the line, and then did not face each other in a singles match. Like, they did a couple tags, but even that was only in 93. And this was December of 1995. So yeah, it had been almost 2 years since they'd faced each other. So
And it seems like New Japan's kind of kept that up with, like, you can have like a rivalry with 2 guys, and they keep them apart very well, while maybe keeping the matchup in your mind.
yes,
Like Okada and Omega wrestled. How many times did they end up wrestling by the
4.
end of that? 4,
Yeah.
And it was over kind of a number of years.
Yeah, they
So-
only had 4 singles matches total. So
Yeah, but it was always like, Okada gets this one. Then like a couple months later they go again. It's a draw, and then like a couple months later, like they keep it apart. But you always remember they're like, but the next clash is coming up soon. We gotta I feel like it keeps their events all almost like a WrestleMania, but like the matchup, like.
yeah, well, and even because as we're recording this, they just announced the G1 brackets. Like like you said, New Japan still does that because Tanahashi and Okada are in separate blocks, so that they will not touch unless they get to the finals. Because they like saving that match.
They like saving the match, and then it also was build-up of like it definitely keeps the interest in both. Not that there wouldn't be, but the interest in both blocks of like, is Okada gonna make it so we can get Okada and Tanahashi again?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, like you have multiple people you want to cheer for because you want to get that matchup.
Yeah. I like so wrapping up the match, like Liger, his finisher at this point, he was using the Liger bomb, but he was also using the Fisherman Buster, which he let Dragon kick out of both of them, which is pretty cool. But then I like the fact that he hits the one and then definitely is like, oh, screw this, I'm gonna kill this guy. I'm gonna go up for the top rope Fisherman Buster. But that's when Ultimo pushes him off. Ultimo lands on his feet and then goes into the La Mistral cradle, which is still like, you've got to remember, like, this was 95, but this was Dragon's finisher, really. Like, he got that thing over, and you could tell from the crowd, like, as soon as he goes for the La Mistral, the crowd's like, oh my god, Ultimo Dragon's gonna win! And then he, Dragon kicks, or Liger kicks out, and then he ends up going for it at the end of the match, and then Liger rolls through, cradles Ultimo Dragon, and then gets the win with that. So,
yeah, that was another spot that was really, really cool to see too, because all of that too, it didn't look fluid. Like, they looked like they were both scrambling to get that win. Like, it looked like it was so well done that it was like in the moment, like, because in the middle of Ultimo, trying to roll Liger over, Liger just sandbags him, grabs his head, and gets the count. Like, just I don't want to say out of nowhere, because it wasn't out of nowhere. It was at the end of like a 20-minute match, but like it was such a sudden end, and I don't know, it made so much sense. Like it all came together so well that it looked like a real, like, struggle and scramble to get that 3 count. Like, everybody whips out their finishers, they're rolling through it, they're kicking out, and then all of a sudden he's just like, I'm just gonna grab his head, and he gets him.
Yep. Yeah, like, just take him down. It's like, no, I'm gonna get you down for 3 seconds. That's all I need. Just 3 seconds. Yeah. So with tradition, we always go over, as someone's eliminated, I tell you what they did after the tournament. And actually, this was the day before the 1995 Starrcade event. So a lot of the talent, including Ultimo Dragon and Jushin Liger, flew from here to do a show in the next week, I believe, for WCW, because it was the New Japan versus WCW card.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The did not mess around with their schedules.
No,
back then.
Not at all. I mean, people do some pretty dumb travel days. At this point, like, Rise had literally just posted today of Tony Storm had done a show in Australia, flew to Illinois to do their show, then flew to the UK.
Jeez. How long is the flight from Australia? Isn't it like a day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's it's definitely taken on a heavy load. That would be rough.
Yeah. But technically you're going backwards in time. So technically there was one guy actually in January. He did a death match early in the afternoon in Japan, and then flew to New York, and actually technically on the same day wrestled twice on 2 different continents. I can't remember who it was, though.
That is insane.
Yeah. And they were both death matches too, which was the stupidest thing about that. But yeah, so Ultimo Dragon, he ends up the next year winning the J Crown. So I mean, we all love, Becky 2 belts and Bayley 2 belts and Dos belts. Dragon had 10.
Yeah, he did. He will. Nobody will ever top.
Nobody.
That.
Nobody's.
That's too.
Yeah. I don't care. The besties in the world right now have 3 tag titles. One of them for a defunct promotion, but they're the closest right now.
I would just love if, like, in WWE, when, like, Becky had her 2 belts or Bayley has her 2 belts, and they say that, it just cuts to, like, Dragon looking at the camera, just.
Yeah.
Child's play.
Well, I mean, Dragon, Sasuke, because I mean, the J Crown was 8 titles by itself. He just happened to also win, I think it was like an NWA title or a CMLL title, and then the WCW Cruiserweight title at the same time.
Yeah, I definitely remember entrances in WCW.
Yep. And then of course he came out and started training with Toryumon, and that became Dragon Gate USA, or Dragon Gate. Then he left that to actually go do WWF stuff, and then, you know, he's kicking around and is now back in Dragon Gate.
Well, everything comes full circle.
Yep. So what are your social media plugs and all that fun stuff?
I am at The Scott Story on Instagram and Twitter, and I think Facebook is just Scott Story. And then ProWrestlingTees.com/Scott Story.
Yeah, and then you can follow me on kind of all social media stuff at Knocked Out Films. Thanks for watching.